Hello everyone, welcome back to another BoldBA webinar. In this webinar, we are going to see how to include custom visualizations in BoldBA. By default, BoldBA has all the basic widgets required for you to analyze the data in the dashboard designer. But there are some cases where customer needs to add new widgets into the dashboard, which could be created by themselves, or they want to include some visuals or a web content that is already available as a part of their own application. So BoldBA has this ability to include any type of custom visuals into the BoldBA dashboard. There's no restrictions in terms of who can create a custom visual and who can include it in the designer. Anyone can create a custom visualization and include it in their BoldBA application. So when you create a custom visual, anyone who uses your application, like users who has the access to create dashboards, everyone will have the access to that specific custom widget that you have added. So that could be anyone in your organization who has the dashboard create permission, or else if you're distributing the application to your customers will also get a hang on to that custom widget that you have created, and they could use it to build their dashboard. And the custom widgets is currently now available only for the BoldBA embedded edition, which is also known as BoldBA on-premise edition. Any users who currently makes use of the BoldBA cloud version, they don't have the permission to directly add custom visuals, but they could contact the support and get the custom visuals added for their tenant. And we are already supporting some of our customers in including the custom visuals. Now, let's go ahead and see what are the different different ways in which you could include custom visuals in the BoldBA dashboards. There are two ways in which you could integrate custom visuals. First one is the static integration using an iframe, and the second one is the deep integration using a custom template that we provide, and you could include your own widget as a plugin into the BoldBA dashboard designer. Let's look into the first type now. Syncfusion by default has a rich text editor control in the dashboard designer. So the rich text editor has the ability to include any HTML content into the dashboard or into the widget. So whenever you have a custom widget that you have already created or that is already been available as a part of your application, you could just integrate that particular visual within an iframe tag in the rich text control. So when you include a visual through the rich text edit control, you don't have any control over what has been bound to that widget in terms of data, and what are the customizations, whatever customizations that you have done in the visual cannot be controlled in the BoldBA dashboard designer. It's just going to sit there as a static content, and it cannot interact with other widgets that you have in the dashboard. Like for example, if you do a filtering, or if you change the data or the data refreshes, it doesn't control the static content that you have, and you need to manually change the properties or look and feel whatever you have in your web content that you already have built. The only thing that you can do from BoldBA dashboard designer is the auto refresh. So BoldBA dashboard designer has this auto refresh setting. So for example, in your custom widget, there's going to be a data update every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes. You could configure this auto refresh setting for this specific widget or for the entire dashboard, so that it's going to refresh and bring in the latest data into the visual, and it can show in the dashboard. So that is the one thing that you can do when you do a static integration. Now let us go back to the application and see how the static integration is done. So if you have already used the BoldBA dashboard designer before, this would be familiar for you. So this is the dashboard designer interface, and you see a list of default widgets available here on the left side, and you could see a rich text editor under the miscellaneous category here. So what you need to do is just drag and drop it over the dashboard designer canvas and resize it to your requirement, and then click on the edit button here. And so this has all the options for you to control of customize your and format your text if you want to add a rich text. And in addition, if you click on the container here, you'll see different options here, including the ability to include HTML content. So what you can do is just click on this, and I already have an iframe tag that I already built using the Syncfusion EJ to control. So it is a Smith chart that I have added within an iframe. So now let me click on the preview button. You see the chart being displayed here. So I can click on the update button now, and when I preview the dashboard, it's just going to show the widget as it is a part of the Bowlby dashboard itself. So the only thing that you cannot do here is you can, of course, if it has some minor interactions like tooltips or anything, you could just make use of that, or even if you have a trackball or anything, you could make use of that. But it cannot interact with the data or any other widgets that you have in the dashboard by clicking on it or doing any other interaction. Okay, so this is the option to include static web contents, and this is the simplest form in case if you just want to get it visualized rather than if you're not doing much of interaction. This is the easiest way to embed the custom widget into the dashboard. So going back to the presentation, so the second type is the deep integration. So in this method, you'll be integrating the visual as a plugin using our custom widgets package. So we have a template that we provide. What you need to do is just fill out all the required details and also include your scripts for the custom widget and implement few functions that we require for you to interact with the dashboard. And then you're all done. You just need to include that plugin folder into a specific location, and that will be loaded in the dashboard designer. Let's see this in detail later on. But when you do a deep integration, you'll have complete control over the data and the properties, formatting, customization, everything. You can control it from the dashboard designer itself rather than making the manual changes in the code or in your scripts. Okay? And in addition, your custom widget can also interact with other default widgets that you have that comes along with the Bowlby dashboard designer. Make it look like it is one of the dashboard designer itself. And as I said before, once you include the custom widget, anyone will have access over it. There is at present we don't have any permission settings to restrict user from accessing the custom widget. Everyone will have access over it, and they can build their own dashboards using your custom widget. Okay. Now let's go back to the application, and I will take you to the documentation first. So we have a complete documentation or how to include or how to build a custom widget from template here in help.bowlby.com site. And here you'll be able to download the template and start working with it. And in addition to that, we have few examples of custom widgets like Sunburst chart, and we also have another widget that is built out of D3JS. You can also download those sample custom widget files from here and then use it as a reference for your own custom widgets. And we're also working on adding custom widgets explorer page that I will explain later on. And now let's get started and see what is there in the template. Okay, so I have already downloaded the template in my machine. So let me open that. Okay, so this is the template. So as in it's by default it has uh, the folder name as widget name, where you need to provide a name for the widget, and inside the folder you'll have three different folders and a manifest file. Let's see this one by one. First one is the icon folder, and here you need to add your icon. So if you go back to the application, you'll be able to see each and every widget has their own icons. So you could include your own custom icon for your custom widget, and make sure that the folder name and the image name are same. So that's the one thing that you have to remember. And we have an src folder. Inside the src folder, you'll be able to see two JavaScript files. One is an empty file where you can include your custom widget or your custom scripts for your widget. And the other one is the source file.js, where you'll be able to see template methods. So let me open this in an editor. Okay, so this source file.js contains two template functions or two functions that you need to implement. One is the init function and the other one is update function. So the init function is called whenever your widget is going to be initialized. Like for example, when you drag and drop the widget from the toolbox into the dashboard designer canvas, or when you open a dashboard, the widget will be initialized for the first time. And you need to implement this method, and this method will provide you all the details or all the uh, objects for you to render the widget. So the this dot element is the container for you to render the widget within the container, and you'll be able to get the size of the container from here. And this dot model will uh, provide you all the details like the bound columns, the data in the form of a collection, and the properties, various properties that you have configured, everything here, it will be uh, written here, and you can make use of it to render the widget. And the update function will be called in 3 different cases. First one is resize. Whenever you resize the widget within the design canvas, or even when you resize the dashboard, this function is going to be called, and you can make use of it to provide a responsive behavior for your widget according to the different sizes. And the another update type is refresh. So whenever there is a data change or whenever a new column is bound to the widget, this function is going to be triggered. And the final thing is property change. Whenever a property is changed, this update type will be called, and you can change the property. You'll get the property name and the property value here, and you can make use of it to change the appearance of your widget. Okay, so so this is the source file.js which you need to implement. I will show you an example of an implemented widget, and also I'll show you how to debug this later on. Okay, so going back to the folder, so you see a style folder here where you can include your own custom CSS styles. And finally, we have a widget config.json, which is a manifest file. And this is the important file that needs to be filled up by you to include the plugin or the custom widget into the dashboard designer interface. Okay, so let me open this now in an editor. Okay, so let's see what are the different entities that we have here in the widget config.json. First one is the widget name. So your folder name, the icon name, and the name that you provide here should be the same. And you have a unique identifier for every widget. So in case if you are adding multiple widgets, make sure each of your widget have unique name. And display name is what it's going to be displayed here in the dashboard designer interface. So you see a display name here. So this is what you need to configure here. And also each and every widget has a description. So if you see here, there is a little description over in the tooltip, and also the data requirements, minimum data requirement shown here. You can configure that also in the widget config.json. You see the display name here, category in which the widget has to be placed. So in the widget toolbox, you'll see different categories like comparison, distribution, miscellaneous, filters, and so on. So based on the nature of your widget, you could include that widget in any specific category, and you could provide a description, anything that you want to share with the user. And the source file will be the source file.js file. In case if you are using your own uh, script file, make sure you change this here, and provide a version for your custom widget. And finally, we have dependencies. So in case if you are going to use different dependencies, you just include that here in the script section. And also if you are going to use multiple styles, you could also include that here. Okay, so these are the basic things that you need to configure. Now let's see on the data fields and functionality section. Okay, for that, let me go back to the application first and explain you what are these things. Okay, so let me remove this widget now and add a basic chart that we have, like a column chart or anything. Okay, let me add this and resize it. Okay, so for configuring any widget, so you just need to drag and drop that widget into the designer canvas and click on the configure option here on the top right corner. So you'll be able to see two sections here. One is the property section, and the other one is the assign data section. Okay, so I already have added a data source for my dashboard. So if I go back to the configuration here, you see a property section, and all the customizations related to the look and feel of the widget is available here. Like for example, if you see, you have option to show legend or disable it. You can even position where the legend has to be placed, and everything. So these are the properties that are available for the default widgets. But even when you create a custom widget, uh, you'll record these type of configurations in the designer for your users to make use of it. You may have n number of properties for your custom widget, and you need to expose them in the dashboard designer for your users to make use of it and customize the widget in their own way. Okay, right? So this is the property section. And if you see here in the properties section, each and every property will have its own controls. Like for example, we have a checkbox for enabling the animation, and a color picker for choosing the series color, a drop down list to choose the position like top, bottom, center, and so on. So we also provide our users to make use of these controls to configure their properties. I'll show this later on. And going back to the assign data section, on the left side you could see the schema of your data source. Like if you have columns, numeric columns, and dimensions like string or datetime, all those will be listed down here. In my data source, I have only two columns, which is subject and students enrolled. So in case if you have multiple columns in your data source, all those will be listed here under measures and dimensions. In addition to that, you could create your own custom expression or a calculated field using the expression editor. Okay, on the right side you see some configurable sections here where the users can just drag and drop their fields. For example, for configuring this column chart, I could just drag and drop the subject to the column section and the students enroll to the value section. You'll see the chart is plotted immediately. So these are the minimum requirements for this widget. And even I could add a number of measures to this chart to show multiple series, or add multiple dimensions here to enable a drill down, or add to row, and also tooltips and so on. But these are optional. Like if you want to include multiple tooltips, you could do that. You could by just you need to drag and drop the field over the section. But these sections vary based on widget to widget. For example, if you use a grid, you may have only two sections, which are column, hidden column, and filters. So these configurable sections may vary based on user to user, or based on the widgets. So we allow our users to even configure these sections so that any user can just drag and drop the fields and configure the widget easily. Going back to the manifest file here, so you see two sections here. One is the data fields and the other one is functionalities. So data fields are for the assign data section. So in our column chart example, we saw the values, columns, rows, and so on. So likewise, you can configure n number of containers here where the user can drag and drop their columns or fields. And the basic requirements are these. Like you need to provide a display name for that section, and what type of data can be configured to the section, whether it is measure or dimension, you can mention that. And you could also provide a name. Apart from the display name, this name will be obtained in code when you implement the widget, so that you can make use of it and get the values. And you could also mention the minimum and maximum number of fields that can be bound to that section. So minimum is 1. You can have any number of maximum values, but if you just want, you're allowed to allow your user to drag and drop one column or one field there, you can mention it as 1 and 1 here. The minimum and maximum value can be 1 and 1 respectively. And if any of these containers or sections are optional, you can make them as optional true. But if it is mandatory to configure those sections, you can make sure that optional is set to false, or optional is set to true. Sorry. So these are contained in the template itself. You can have n number of these data fields so that the user can configure. Coming to the functionality, so these are the properties section, and you can configure your own properties. By default, some of the properties will be available. Let me go to the application. So in the property section, if you see here, the name, subtitle, description, the container settings like container appearance, container actions. So these settings or these properties will be available by default, because these are not related to the widget. These are related to the container that we have within which the widget is going to be added. So all other properties, like whatever you see here, basic settings, linking, access, so those kind of properties needs to be configured by you. So going back to the manifest file, so as I said before, we provide 5 different types of control for our users to create their own properties. So the first one would be a checkbox. The control type would be Boolean here. We provide a display name, the control type, the name, and also a default value for each of these properties. Okay, so the default name can be anything. The control type should be the one that you want to use, and name is a value that is going to that you can make use of while you implement it in the script. Okay, and for the Boolean type, as I said, you'll get a checkbox, and you could also add a text box by making the control type as text, and again it also has its own default value, name, and display name. And in case if you are going to customize colors, you can also include a color picker. The control type would be color, and you can provide a default value for that too. And we have a numeric up down control in case if you're working with numbers, like for example if you are customizing a font size, then a numeric up down control will be much more easier. So the control type would be number for this, and you could provide a minimum and maximum value for the up down control and also a default value. And finally we have enumeration control type. This is for a list box. So in case if you are using for example, if you want to allow your users to change the style of the text like bold, italic, and so on, you could use a drop down or list, and the list items can be added here, and a default value can also be set. So you can make use of these controls and create n number of properties for you to be included in the property section. And you could also provide headers for each of those properties. So for text properties, you'll have these, for example, this, but in case if you're going to add a separate section for linking or separate section for access label customization or value label customization, you could add n number of headers and properties underneath that. And finally, we have the filter settings. So filter settings is mainly used for interactions. Like master filter is a state where your widget can act as a master widget and control the data in the other widgets in the dashboard by doing selections or doing filterings. By clicking on widget elements, you could filter the values in the other widget in the dashboard. So this is master filter. And ignore master filter is an ignore action. Like if you have another master filter in your dashboard and you don't want to respond to those filter actions, you could just set the ignore master filter settings and make it to true or false. If you don't know, if you're not going to work with interactions, you can set these properties as visible as false, so that it will not be displayed in the properties panel at all. But if you are working with interaction, you could make sure you make the visible as true, and you could also set a default value as either true or false, okay, based on your requirement. So this is a widget.configure. So far we have seen the two important things: the manifest files and also the source file.js where you need to implement. Okay, so I'm going to show you a widget that has been created by me, and also I'll also show you how to debug and implement the widget. Okay, so for this example, I have taken an example of a Venn diagram widget. So it is derived from D3JS. So the main reason for me to go to D3JS is I want to show the flexibility that the Bowlby dashboard designer is capable of including any type of widget, not only the Syncfusion EJ charts. Okay, so I have implemented the Venn diagram visual as a custom widget, and I have these uh, here. Let me show you the folder. Okay, so I have this implemented and I have named it as custom Venn diagram, and I have all configured all these things here. So if you go to the icon folder, you'll see a custom icon here with the same name as the folder name. And let's see the widget config.json first, and then I'll show you the source file, that is source file.js. Let me open this widget config.json. So if you see here, the widget name is configured as the same as the icon name and the folder name. I have provided a unique identifier for my widget, and the display name is custom Venn diagram here. And I'm placing this widget under the miscellaneous category. So I have provided a simple description, and the source file is just going to be sourcefile.js for me, and provided a version for the widget. And here I have multiple dependencies, the different dependencies that I have from D3JS, the minified file of D3JS, Venn diagram, and some additional functions related to tooltip customization. So let me show that in the folder. So if we go back to if you go to the source folder here, we'll see all those script files here, the minified file of D3.js, Venn diagram, and the additional functions. And also I have the source file .js configured. So I have configured all those things in the manifest file here under dependencies. And I also have a widget.css file to a style sheet for the tooltip. So I have included it as a dependency. And finally, let's go on to the data fields and functionalities configuration. Okay, so for a Venn diagram, all you need is two sections. One is a column section and a value section. So let me show you my sample data. So this is what my sample data is going to look like. You have a subject column and a students enrolled column, and there will be students who are enrolled in different subjects here. The number of students is shown in this column, and there will be intersections like those students who enrolled for maths and science, maths and language, and so on. So all you need to do is include two data sections where I can include a column and a value. Okay, so I have added both these here. That is the value section where anyone can bind a measure. So the value type is mentioned as measure, and I have provided a name. And I'm just going to work with one column for each, like one field for each section. So I have marked both the min and maximum value as 1. And optional is set to false because the value is mandatory, and so is the column. So you need to configure it. It is not optional. And for the column, the value type is mentioned as dimension. And again here, the minimum and maximum value is set to 1, so that the user can just bind one column to it. And again, this is not optional, so I have marked the optional settings as false. Okay. And regarding the properties section, I'm just going to include 3 properties under the basic settings heading. So the one is to get the intersection separator. So if you look into the example that I shown, so the intersections has a separator or a delimiter here. It is currently ampersand symbol, but you can use anything like a comma or semicolon or anything. But I'm getting the delimiter value from the user through a properties panel. So I'm using a text box for it. So I have marked the control type as text. So the user can just enter their own delimiter values and load the data. And the next property is show value label. So in the widget, if you just want to show the value label, or just if you want to hover and show it in the tooltip, or by default if you want to display it in the widget itself, you can configure it as true or false. So I have made use of a checkbox for this, so the control type is set as boolean. And finally, I'm providing a label color for my widget. So I'm using a color picker. The control type is set as color, and I have also provided a default value which is black. And so these are the property sections configured. And finally, the filter section, I'm going to work with interaction. I'm also going to show you how the interaction works. So I have set the master filter visibility as true, and also the ignore master filter visibility as true, so that I can work with the interactions. So the default values are also set for these properties. So this is the widget config.json file that I have worked. And let's now go back to the source file or the source folder. You see the source file.js here. Let me edit this. Okay, so this is what my source file looks like. In the init function, I have implemented the widget rendering. So this default data is just to show something when you drag and drop the widget. But when you bind the data, this default data will be replaced with the data that is being bound. So the init function is implemented here. I'm getting the height and width from the container element, which you can get from this dot element. And you can also get the data from this dot model that I will show you later on while debugging. So using the update when data method, I'm just rendering this widget by default. Okay, and going to the update method here, or the update function here. So I have also implemented all these 3 update types. One is the resize. So whenever the resize update is called, I could get the uh, a new size and render it using the init method. And also while refresh, I'll get the new data that is being bound. I'll also render it using the init method. And finally, for every property change, I will change the property of the widget using the option.property.value. So this is my source file. And I have also implemented an apply filter method here for the interaction. So I'll explain this later on when we debug the widget from the designer. Okay, so what you need to do is, once you have configured the template successfully, you just need to go and place this folder, that is the custom Venn diagram folder, in a specific category in the dashboard designer. So in the installation location, you'll be able to see this. So under C drive, bold services, BI, or data service, you just include a custom widgets folder, and under that you can just copy the template folder that you have filled out, and you can add n number of custom widgets here under this folder. All those will be loaded in the dashboard designer. So I have just added that thing, that the custom widget that I have created, and in my source file I have just added debugger so that I can show you how to debug it when you work it in the dashboard designer. Okay, now so once I drag and drop this widget here in this folder, it will be automatically loaded in the dashboard designer. Going back to the application, so here is the application. Let me remove this widget, and in the toolbox, in the miscellaneous category, you will be able to see the newly added custom Venn diagram here at the bottom. So let me drag and drop this to the design canvas and resize it. And now basically it uses the default data that we have set, and it shows a value here. However, once you bind the data, all these things will be replaced. And let's see if all those configurations that we have done are reflected here. You see an intersection separator here. So the default value is set as ampersand. And also you see a show value label property here. I can just enable it or disable it to show the values in the widget itself. However, when you hover over the widget, you'll be able to see it on the tooltip. Okay, and also you'll be able to change the label color using this color picker. Okay, so these are the three properties that I have added, and the default properties like name, subtitle, description, container appearance, and everything is populated here. Okay, so now let's go to the assign data section here, and now you'll be able to see the new data sections that we have added. One is the value section, and the other one is the column section. Each accepts one column or one field, and we can drag and drop the values. So let me add the subject field to the column and students enrolled to the value, and you see the widget is successfully configured here. Okay, and I can go back to the properties and also change the colors or whatever formattings that I have done here. So the widget is now successfully added, and everything that we configured in the widget.json is successfully loaded and it is rendered. Now let's see how to debug this widget that is necessary for you to when you develop a new custom widget. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Let me remove this, and let me open the debugger. Okay, so I have opened the browser's debugger tools. So now let me drag and drop the custom widget to the designer. Okay, so as I said before, I have added debugger to all these functions so that we can debug. So if you see here, the init function is first. As soon as we drag and drop the widget, the init function is called, and I can make use of this dot element to get the size. And also, if you go and look into this dot model, you'll be able to get all the details required for you to build or render a widget. So you see the bound columns here. Since we have not bound any columns now, it is showing as 0. And the data source here will provide you the collection of data that is being available. And you can see even all the other properties here, like property section, what is the current properties being configured, everything will be shown here in the property section. So by making use of this dot model, you will have all the required details for you to render the widget. Okay, so now let me skip this and render. Okay, and let me resize this widget now. So as soon as I resize the widget, you'll see the update function being called, and the update type would be resize, and you'll also get the new size here in the size object. So you can make use of that and uh, render your widget again using the new dimensions. Okay, let's skip this, and now let me bind a data to this. So as I said before, whenever you bind a data to the widget, the refresh update type will be triggered, and you'll get the all the data record data there in the update function for you to render the widget. So now let me drag and drop the fields. So as soon as I drag and drop the field, you'll see the refresh function being called, and you'll also get the data that is being bound. Okay, so there is a columns that we have added, and now let me drag and drop. Let me skip this. Okay, now let me drag and drop the students enrolled, and you see the data here. So the column name and the values will be available here, with which you can render the data. Okay, so I have made use of that, and I have, using the init function, I have rendered the widget. So you see the widget is now successfully plotted. Now let's also see the property update type. So if you go to the property section, and let me change the color and click on apply, and you see the update function here triggered with the option type as property change, and you'll also see the property name and the value here. So you can make use of that and re-render the widget. Okay, so now we have seen the resize, refresh, and also the property change. Okay, how to debug them, all those. Now let's see how your widget is going to interact with other widgets in the dash. Okay, so by default, if unless you click on the or disable the ignore filter actions, by default your widget will respond to any filter actions that is done in the dashboard. For example, let me drag and drop the combo box here. Okay, and resize it. So this is a filter widget. So every time when I add this, this is just going to be acting as a master widget by default. So in the assign data section, I'll just drag and drop the subjects to the value. Let me also enable the multi-selection option in the properties panel. So I'll be able to see and filter the values. Okay. Now, we do not support filter interactions in the design mode for better design experience. So if you need to filter the data, you either need to publish the dashboard or just go into preview mode. Okay. So now the update function is called with the update type as a resize, because there is a difference between the size in the design mode and the preview mode. So the resize function will be called. So let's execute this, and now what I'm going to do is in the combo box, I'm just going to select some values like max language, maths and language. Okay, I'm just going to select these three values. Now if you see, again the refresh update type will be called, and the selected data will be shown only will be available here. So the only I have selected only three values, and these three values are available in the data. So now I can execute this, and you see you'll be able to see the widget is rendered with the selected values. So if you have implemented the update function properly for all these three update types, your widget should basically work well for any other interactions in the dashboard. Okay, and let me close this, and now let's see how the widget is going to work for uh, master interaction. Like for example, if this widget is going to act as a master widget, and for example if I select any one of these circles here like maths, it needs to filter, act as a filter, and it needs to filter down all the values in all the other widgets in the dashboard. Okay, so for that let me remove this, and I will add a grid for better explanation. So let me add a grid here at the bottom, and I can add the columns here in the grid. So I'll add subject and students enrolled here. Okay, so now what you need to do is in the widget, you just need to enable act as master widget option. Okay, so that now any interaction can be done through this widget. Okay, and also at the top you'll be able to see a filter configuration window, where you can configure a number of a number of master widgets here, like master widgets, and the listeners can be configured here. So now our master widget is a custom widget, and grid is going to act as a listener. Okay. So now let me go to the preview mode. Okay. And let me click on any one of these chart elements, like any one of the language here. Okay, in your subject here. So if you see here, what I have done here is in the widgets on click event, I have added a method apply filter, and here I'm going to collect the values that needs to be filtered. So what you need to do is create an object for selected column info, and you can create a collection in case if you are going to work with multiple selections, like some of the widgets supports multiple selections. So you need to create a collection of the selected column info object, and then you need to call this API, which is ej.dashboard.filter data, along with the selected columns collection. So this will filter the data in other widgets that is added to the dashboard. Okay, so now let me show this. So the selected column info basically has two properties. One is the unique column name and the value. Okay, so the unique column names and the values. So I'll get the unique column name here from the widget, and also the selected value from the widget, and then I will pass it on to the API. So this is, I have support only for a single selection here, so I'm just including one object. So if you see here, the filter column info, you can have the unique column name and the value as maths. Okay, so I need to pass this object collection to the filter data API, ej.dashboard.filter.data API, and this will eventually filter the data in all other widgets in the dashboard. So now let me click on any other element here. So again, you'll get the column name and the value, and you'll see the filtered value in the grid widget, right? So this is how you implement interaction or master interaction in the custom widget. Okay, so this is very simple, and we also have some examples already available in the documentation page, which you can download and use it for reference. Okay, so that is how you include custom widgets or custom visualizations in BoldBA dashboard. And we are also working on a new page that will where we'll be including all the custom widgets that we have worked so far, as so that you can download it from there. So it is a work in progress, and soon it will be available. And we have also planned for our users to allow our users to include their custom widgets in the gallery, so that the others can make use of it. So it's a work in progress, and it should be available in this quarter. And the one more important thing that I wanted to inform everyone is, along with your Bold BA Embedded Edition license, you'll also get the license for free license for Syncfusion Essential Studio. So basically, all the widgets that we use here in the Bold BA Dashboard Designer is from the Syncfusion gallery or the Syncfusion widgets. So since you get a free license for Essential Studio, you can use any of these widgets in case if you want to include a stock chart or Kanban control within the dashboard. You can you have the control already available for you. You can build your custom widgets and include it in the BoldBA dashboard. You can also approach us if you have any uh, doubts or any clarifications regarding including. You could always contact the support, and we would help you in including that visual in BoldBA dashboard. So, you can make use of it not only for data visualizations. You could use other controls that we have, like the data grid and everything. In case if you are working with an embedded application where you are going to embed the dashboards, you can make use of these tools for you to build a rich web application. And we also have integrations for all the popular frameworks. So and credits to the Venn diagram widget. It's derived from the library built by Brent Fredrickson. So it's a derivative of the D3JS, and you could also download the Venn diagram custom widget file from the link. I hope this session was very helpful for you to build your own custom widgets and build a very rich dashboard out of it. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.